Good morning and welcome to the AM News. In our very first story, the Auditor General has uncovered the misapplication of free senior high school funds worth more than 19 million cedis. The funds had been diverted from the Free Senior High School Secretariat. In one instance, 4.5 million cedis was diverted to hold a training workshop. Details in the following News Desk report.
The 2020 report of the Auditor General makes for grim reading. Irregularities at the Education Ministry have cost the taxpayer millions of cedis. The misapplication of free senior high school funds stands out. Auditors found that officials violated Section 7 of the Public Financial Management Act, which mandates a principal spending officer in a covered entity to ensure the regularity and proper use of money appropriated in that covered entity. According to the auditors, between January and July 2019, a total of 19,217,802 cedis was received for free SHS to be utilized for various planned activities. Instead of using it for the stipulated free SHS activities, the amount was rather advanced to two institutions without definite terms of recovery. The auditors note that as at the time of the audit, March 2020, management had not recovered the amount from the beneficiaries. The details show that 4.5 million cedis was used by the Ghana Education Service to organize the second phase of a training workshop to support the implementation of the new pre-tertiary curriculum. 14.7 million was used by the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment to print and supply teacher resource packs, training guides, teacher resource supplementary and curriculum framework documents. The Auditor General was emphatic that management of the Free SHS Secretariat under the Education Ministry should ensure that the total amount of 19.2 million advanced to the two organizations are paid back into the Free SHS account.
Now, Greater Accra Regional Minister Henry Quartey has charged Korle Klottey MCE James Ni Ajay Teria to join him in his fight against indiscipline in the region. Mr. Teria on Monday received 100% endorsement from Assembly members to take office as Chief Executive. He pledged to work hard to ensure development of the Assembly. There's more in the following report.
Yesterday is gone. Another day has come. Do something new.
Regional Minister Henry Quartey, as he joined the Korle Klottey Municipal Assembly for its approval of Chief Executive nominee, he laid out what he expects of the nominee, opting to musically point out that yesterday is indeed gone.
Oh, you, something new. We have a duty. And our duty is to work and ensure that the community gets what they deserve, i.e. sanitation, security, and all that. In the Assembly, we are expected to work for the people who have reposed confidence and trust in us. I want to say that what is gone is gone, what is past is past. After today's confirmation, Honorable MCE, we want you to put your men to the ground. I keep on saying job, day, ground. And all your people have to hit the ground running to ensure that we deal with the indiscipline in the region, more to be precise in this area. So Mr. MC, you have a huge task, and I will be chasing you from next week to ensure that we begin to deal with, especially in this area. That's your first point of call. You deal with it, so we can make Accra working again.
The Assembly members had their own song as they pledged their support to the nominee. All 16 Assembly members voted to approve the nomination of James Ni Ajay Teria as MCE for Korle Klottey Municipal Assembly. He was appointed in March 2019 after the Assembly was carved out of the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. He was reappointed by President Akufo-Addo.
I will continue to work in this way. I wish to put it on record that I intend to work with every Assembly member to ensure the Assembly is a success, and also the Member of Parliament for the Korle Klottey Municipal Assembly.
I pledge to work with key stakeholders in the Korle Klottey Municipal Assembly, traditional elders, political leaders, elders, community leaders, the business community, and many others.
MP for Korle Klottey, Dr. Zanato Rollins, said the results of the assembly polls shows members are ready to work with the MCE. She called for equal distribution of resources.
In the same way as all the assembly members were non-partisan and gave you 100%, I will appeal that when it comes to the distribution of resources to all assembly members, we treat them the same way.
Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Amoakwata is worried about contractors who bid for road projects without the needed resources. He says these road projects are capital intensive and those who want to enter into the venture should not come with empty hands. He said from next week, the ministry intends to change the narrative and hence advised all those who wish to bid for road projects to be well prepared before going into that venture. Kwesi Amoakwata was speaking at a press conference in Wa.
Roads and Highways Minister Kwesi Amoakwata climaxed a 3-day inspection of roads and bridges that has been washed off by violent flash floods on August 12 in the Upper West region with a press conference. He stated that a total of 106 projects have been awarded in the region and work is currently ongoing and they are putting a close eye on them.
All the 106 ongoing projects, contractors are on, but I cannot say that all the sites are active. As for that, we keep monitoring them. Those that are active are going to be supported as we have been doing to complete the works. If there are 1, 2, 3 that are inactive for whatever reason, we shall work it out.
Kwesi Amoakwata warned that they will not hesitate to terminate the contract of any of the contractors if they underperformed.
And that contractor, no matter who you are, no matter your size, no matter your pedigree, once you can perform, I have the moral courage and the moral authority to knock you off, and you'll be knocked off and replaced by a more competent person. So people should rest assured that we are monitoring every contractor, not only in the region, across the nation.
The Roads and Highways Minister admonished prospective contractors who have their eyes on bidding for road contracts would have been resourceful to stay away, as in the coming weeks, the narrative will change.
From next week, we are taking steps to stop that. Don't come into that industry empty. They must be prepared. We are in a country that everybody wants to be a contractor. Ghana, everybody wants to be a contractor. Everybody must be prepared to come. It's open to everybody, yes. Any Ghanaian has the right to be a contractor, but come also prepared to help yourself, to help government, and to help the people of this country.
The Roads and Highways Minister further assured the people of the country that following the success story of the 2020 year of roads is being extended into the year 2021.
Whether surface dressing, whether asphaltic overlay, whether bridges, whether interchanges are robustly and briskly going on across the length and breadth of this country, across all the 16 regions of the nation, across all the 260 districts of our country, and it will continue. And roads are being fixed, and the manner and the speed with which Ghanaian roads are being worked on is unprecedented.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
MasterCard Foundation scholars at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology are benefiting from short courses organized by the university. The courses are meant to equip the scholars with relevant entrepreneurial, leadership, and academic skills. Students will be trained in skills for effective communication, introduction to project management, poultry production, greenhouse vegetable production, and fundamentals of proposal writing.
The event follows an annual week-long skills training program to train scholars in various entrepreneurial disciplines. It's organized by the Center for Capacity Building and Innovation, CCBI, at the Office of the Vice Chancellor, in collaboration with the MasterCard Foundation's Scholars Program. Coordinator for the center, Yao Amosapong, observes many students find themselves outside their fields of study after school.
The vision for setting up K University or Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology was to produce students and graduates who are going to be called technocrats. And being a technocrat means you are an expert in one or multiple fields. But with time, and as time goes by, you see that the university produces students who are only specialized in their specific fields. Meanwhile, you might end up in fields outside your domain for the area that you are working for. So we decided, that is the Vice Chancellor and her management team, decided that I, being the coordinator for the short courses and programs unit, which is now Center for Capacity Building and Innovation, should put up some short courses to help capacitate students and retool them so that they can fit into society better after school.
Lead MPI for the MasterCard Foundation program at KNUST, Professor Kofi Usudeku, believes it's an opportunity for scholars to enrich their CVs and become useful to society.
And if you see an American college student CV, you'll be amazed. In fact, most college students, apart from those from very rich homes, work. So when he finishes class, he's going to flip pancakes and he's going to fry something in the McDonald's or something. His CV is replete with all these things. We want to encourage our people to do that. That get your hands dirty, keep your CV together. And so when a young person comes to me and says, I've got no job, I said, you can volunteer in that school in your vicinity. When daddy and mommy are gone and you are bored, just go and say, I can teach English, I can teach, even for free, because your CV is continuous.
One of the coordinators, Dr. James Osei-Mensah, encouraged the students to take advantage of the offers at the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources to start their own businesses.
I believe that the students will learn a lot from these three programs, and hopefully when they're able to get the basics, they can run and start their own businesses in vegetable production, also in poultry production, and how to undertake a meaningful facilitation to make the right impact.
Reporting for JoyNews, Kwesi Deborah.
Director of Communications at the Presidency, Eugene Ahin, says Member of Parliament for North Tungu, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, peddled falsehood in his recent claims that President Akufo-Addo rented luxurious private jets for his recent travels to the UK on the 28th of July 2021 to attend the Global Education Summit and state visit to Germany. Speaking at a press briefing at the Jubilee House, he stated checks revealed the private jet in reference was parked at an airport in France when the president was in the UK. Mr. Ahin also says whilst the president was in Germany, the reference private jet was used by another African leader for 15 days.
The Minister for Defense, the Minister for Finance have all made it clear, on the floor of Parliament, that issues to do with the president's travel, borders on national security issues. In my last but one press conference, I indicated that the Member of Parliament for North Tongu had peddled falsehoods when he indicated that the president on the 28th of July, when he went to the Global Education Summit in the UK, had used the LXDIO Boeing aircraft. And I indicated again that the North Tongu MP had also peddled falsehoods when he indicated that the president, sometime in August, not September, in August, when he went for the G20 Compact with Africa Summit, had used the same LXDIO aircraft. And I still maintain my position that the MP peddled falsehoods. in his statement that he put out recently, I mean, if indeed he claims I peddled falsehood, I'm sure he would have put out the evidence indicating that the president has used these particular jets on these particular days. Of course he didn't. He didn't simply because there's no such evidence. And let me put this on the record. On the 28th of July, when the president attended the Global Education Summit in the UK, you can do your own checks, and if you think I'm peddling falsehood, you can expose me. Take your phone, call the company that operates that particular jet and ask them, for example, on the 28th of July, where was that jet? And they will tell you that on the 28th of July, during the entire period of the Global Education Summit, it was for 3 days, that particular jet, the LXDIO jet, was parked at the Paris Le Bourget airport.
Well, that's it for the AM news, but the AM show continues. And of course, we dive straight into the newspapers right after this. You were about to go into the newspapers. I won't say anything about the Daily Graphic. I'm just going to be quiet.
Okay, let's get on with the Daily. We're starting with the Daily Graphic. At what time? What time is it?
6:34.
Okay. So on the front page, averting food shortages in schools, Education Ministry streamlines supply chain. And the story goes, the Ministry of Education is streamlining the food supply chain architecture of senior high schools to ensure effective handling of the food needs of the schools. In line with that, the Ministry is building a database which will include an automated system that enables the Ministry to identify any potential shortages. The Minister of Education, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, who made this known in an interview with the Daily Graphic yesterday, explained that the database would immediately identify a shortage of food supply to any school for prompt action. All right, that's good. If that's going to help the situation, why not? A Jura committee recommends compensation for families, and the story is on page 16. And we'll be delving into that a lot more, but it just indicates a few of the things that the Daily Graphic is highlighting. The committee, however, did not consider the throwing of stones and implements at the police by the youth as acts of extreme provocation that required the firing of live ammunition into the crowd. That's one of the findings of the committee. But yes, it is saying that the families of the deceased, as well as those who were injured, should get adequate compensation. The committee also found that the death of Mohammed Ibrahim, aka Kaka, and his mishandling were the trigger point for the riots that followed, adding that the maximum application of force worsened the situation. Right. Moving on to other stories in the Daily Graphic, we go to page 5, where Burkina Faso's ruling party elects a new president. Burhan vows reforms after Sudan coup attempt. Kenyan villagers fight British army in fire case. And Weir's birthday billboards line streets in Monrovia. So it's the birthday. So billboards with large portraits of Liberian President George Weah are being lined up on the streets of the capital Monrovia ahead of his 55th birthday on October 1. The billboards being erected by the Monrovia City Council are currently all over central Monrovia and other parts of the city.
It's very serious. Eh?
I mean, billboards are being mounted because it's the president's birthday, Liberian president's birthday.
This is Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which billboards, money for which billboards would have been used for something else?
Well, the question is where the money is coming from.
Wherever it's coming from. If it's your birthday, typically when it's people's birthdays, you see the celebs and all that, they would put something together, go donate to a charity or something.
Well, again, I'm usually, on your side, on issues like this. But what if, some rich family, for example, decide that they want to celebrate him And so they decide to contract a private company with funds that they have had in their family for 120 years and put up billboards, you know, to celebrate the president.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. I mean, they could donate the money to buy a hospital or something, but, you know, yeah. Well, happy birthday in advance to you. I mean, nice one day. Then the party will not be easy if this is the billboards, right?
You know, and it's also, you see, you're in a country where there are a lot of deprived people. The country is poor.
Recovering from war, I mean, yeah.
All right, moving on. SPD seeks three-way alliance to succeed Merkel. UN General Assembly ends today. Iceland misses out on first female majority parliament. And then on page 13, yeah, it's an interesting story. Making puberty rights attractive. So a queen mother has repackaged Depot. So the paramount queen mother of the Osudoku traditional area, Nana Amponsa Dukia III, is repackaging Depot, the traditional puberty rights, to make it more appealing and attractive to young girls in Krobo in the eastern region. Coming out strongly with Depot rights in a more refined manner for it to adapt to social change in the face of societal challenges and circumstances, and to be appealing to all young girls, she said. And another quote from her: "The fight for every girl child to be educated is a necessary battle, and we should not stop for any reason." Okay, so she's saying that they're repackaging Depot, but I still see the show of you know, bare breasts, and all of that. I don't know if that's being ignored.
Whether this is the old.
Yeah, but over here I see Nana Mponsa Dokia III presenting a parcel to one of the ladies, and she has bare breasts as well. You know, I mean, they decide to maintain the bare breast. Well, that's fine, but if you want to see
some bare breasts,
it's in the
page 13.
The 13.
But it's interesting. I mean, I some of these things you feel like are completely outmoded. As much as you want to keep a certain, you know, integrity of our culture and heritage and all of that, you also want to move away, you know, from things that are not necessary.
And in one of the photos, I'm seeing one of the ladies. It's like she has a big belly. I don't know if she has a big belly or she's pregnant. But you don't want to show a big belly like this, do you?
I mean, I wear crop tops, so I don't guess that you don't show a big belly. But yes, basically, you don't want to show any of this, Israel. I mean, it's very, very ancient. You know, we want to protect the privacy and integrity of our girls. Yeah. You know, so you can't be talking anyway. I don't know.
All right. Moving on. Oh, there's an advert in the newspaper.
Yeah, I saw it, the dormant account. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a notice on dormant accounts. So if you have a
ABSA, which used to be Barclays.
Yeah. If you have a dormant account with ABSA, they're saying they're going to publish a list of persons with a dormant account. So you may want to find out, and if you have any relative who has a dormant account there. Then domestic tourism with to sustain industry. That's the Ghana Tourism Authority saying that. And then we have a photo of Marco Krekumanti, the Deputy Tourism Minister, presenting a winner with his prize, Master Bright Latte. In politics, PPP proposes 5 key constitutional amendments and prosecute youth who engage in political violence. Ahafo Chief Imam. And on page 18, confirmation of MMDCs. Withdraw nominees after second round of voting. That's Dr. Vladimir Chudan. So he says that if you present an MMDC, a nominee, that's rejected by the Assembly, just withdraw the person after the second round of voting. This will prevent the imposition of unpopular and incompetent persons on the Assembly. And then 3 Accra Assemblies endorse MCE nominees. And the Futu MCE nominee secures 100% votes. Now, or maybe let me just tell you the 3 nominees, 3 Accra Assemblies that have endorsed their nominees. So The confirmation or rejection of chief executive nominees for metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies in the Greater Accra region began yesterday. Assembly members in the Ayawaso Central, Korle Klottey, and Ablekuma West municipalities unanimously endorsed the nominees for the assemblies. The nominees were Mr. Ni Ajay Teria, Korle Klottey, Mr. Mohammed Akwe, Ayawaso Central, and Mr. George Cyril Bray, Ablekuma West. Sex for Freedom policeman remanded. A policeman who allegedly set free a female convict in police cells in exchange for sex has been remanded by a Coast Magistrate Court. Okay. Woman jailed 5 years for human trafficking. And then in Regional Northern Development Authority to host investment summit, Drabinhene builds chapel for Catholic children on 76th birthday. Let's go over that again. Drabinhene builds chapel for Catholic children on 76th birthday. Okay. Nana Uchu Srebo, the Drabinhene, so has funded and inaugurated, the second has funded and inaugurated a new Sunday school chapel for children of the St. Stephen's Catholic Church at Drabing in the Ashanti region. Okay, nice. Project to strengthen science, technology, innovation policies commences. Include air pollution control measures in policy decisions. That's the World Bank urging governments. And medicine counter assistance to write certification exams. Okay. Now, moving on in education. Technical students to write WAEC exams next year. That's the Deputy Education Minister saying that. BC results Namansia West and South improve. Ridge residents cry over refuse burning. Yes, they should cry. Some residents around the Ridge Hospital in Accra have appealed to health authorities to deal with the burning of refuse in the area at night, saying it poses environmental and health risks to them. Ideally, look, you shouldn't burn refuse in any community because, yes, it pollutes.
It really does. I mean, the smell.
Yeah, it will be an inconvenience to other residents.
You know how it is when someone is burning rubbish, and if you have your windows open, and by the time you realize all of your clothes smell of smoke. Yeah. I don't know if that's happened to you before. And some people actually like to put the rubbish in tires and then burn them with the tires sometimes.
Because they say that would make it burn a lot faster.
A lot. And a lot of people just burn things at night too. Like I don't get it. Anyway.
All right. Don't trivialize domestic violence, police superintendent. And oh yeah, Sunday. Yesterday I was saying, each day we tend to have some World Something Day. Yesterday we were talking about HIV and the fact that the HIV cases are going up. Mm-hmm. Well, World Contraception Day was on Sunday.
Right.
Yeah, and yesterday I saw a float where they were giving out condoms, and there's an advert here. As we celebrate World Contraception Day, UNFP applauds the Ministry of Health, Ghana Health Service, and partners with the continuous efforts towards ending the unmet need for family planning in Ghana. Mm. And they have, some of the contraceptives you can use. There's female condom here, in IUD, male condom, oral contraceptive,
and injectables.
Injectable. So choose whichever works for you. And let's keep the population in check. New initiative to support SMEs. Now, through technical and managerial interventions, mentorships, coaching, and direct funding, the program will move SMEs into investment readiness and support their integration into competitive global value chains. Abatime residents worried about rampant arson attacks. Oops. President meets ministers over second-term agenda. As of press time yesterday, President Akufo-Addo, who returned earlier in the day from a one-week trip to the United States for the 76th United Nations General Assembly, had met 14 of his ministers. NCC boss laments neglect of cultural values. That's the National Commission on Culture, NCC. EPA board charged to develop strategies to protect the environment. MTN donates, Ghana donates to Tumfor Education Fund. Thank you, MTN. release funds to complete a from Plains Hospital. And then UK recognizes COVID-19 vaccines administered in Ghana. That's a British High Commission saying that. And to that story, so the point that the British High Commission is making is that the issue doesn't have to do with the vaccines. It has to do with the certification. Because people carry these vaccination cards, and we can't be sure whether it actually means that they've been vaccinated. That's a point they're making.
I get
and,
what you mean.
I've actually been told that people who have obtained some of these vaccination cards without
being vaccinated, yeah, which is very dangerous, very, very dangerous. So yeah, I get that. Okay.
All right, Lands Minister commits to weed out illegal mining, and in graphic business, big push for 2022 budget benefits from 1 billion free IMF money. And we're just about ending. So in sports, Azaka's ladies coach ready for any team. Amuzu wins CBG Golf Challenge medal. Nephew Cynthia win MTN Ashanti First Golf. And 8 promotions to stage 4 title bouts on October 16. Rival gives Wola Court Black Stars debut call-up. That's okay, so that's a goalkeeper. All right, he's a 25-year-old Swindon Town player, and he's going to replace the Ghana's first choice goalkeeper, Richard Ofori, who has been overlooked by Seven Gaffer for his poor showing during the last game against South Africa. Okay, and finally, Total donates fuel to fire service. And Takrady kidnapped woman granted 50,000 CD bail, except we're learning that she still isn't out because they were not able to meet the bail conditions.
Right.
All right. So that'll be it for the Daily Graphic.
15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yes.
Oh, for real?
34, actually 16, 34 to 50. 16 minutes.
Yeah, but as
but now we
keep
have
saying,
10 minutes left.
But as I keep saying, you have less time.
I'm going to do the Daily Graphic tomorrow.
Okay.
So that we see if it's just you who likes talking a lot. Or anyway, let's move on to the Ghanaian Times. Police deploy more personnel in Tema, Accra to combat crime. 4 assemblies give unanimous approval to MMDCE assemblies. Nominees, sorry. The IDRA committee report is out, like we've said, to bereaved families to be compensated. A lot more on that coming up on the show this morning. We will go in depth into that report and so that we can help all of us understand it better, what it means and what the implications are. More Nigerian students have been freed after ransom payments, and hundreds of aid trucks are stuck in Ethiopia. So there's a food situation in Ethiopia's Tigray region, and remember that there are conflicting claims about why supply trucks are stuck there. Well, the supply trucks are stuck, hundreds of them, carrying, aid and food and all of that, trying to get into Tigray. Wow, and they've been there for about 2 months, and it's not clear why. There's no free flow of these trucks and the aid. Okay, teenager among 5 killed in Colombia shooting. Chinese tech executive freed by Canada comes home. German center left claims narrow election victory. Other stories in the Ghanaian Times. Police to deploy more personnel in Tema, Accra to combat crime. There's actually been, which is actually really good, there's been more presence of police around. I'm not sure. Have you noticed?
I've seen. Yeah, I've noticed.
Yeah. I got stopped last night. Just flashing the torchlights in my face.
But I expect them to deploy the people a lot more at night.
Yeah, this was at night.
I mean, like.
Yeah, at
midnight.
Yeah, at night. It was at night.
Because that's when most of these people are. I mean, the criminals are moving about. They've gone to rob someone.
And they're going. A few days ago, I was standing outside my house with my sister and a couple of our friends, and police. They passed by the front of the house. They went for it, but they came back. They parked. And they told us to go inside.
Oh, how?
Yes.
Why
should they're like, no, go inside. And I was like, wow, like you, I'm older than you right now. He was like, no. And he had a good point,
He
you know,
says
because it was around maybe 11 something. And he was like, you're standing on, it's quite a quiet street. You're standing on the street, you know, yeah, it's, you know, a group of people, you know, kind of chatting and stuff. But if a gang, you know, kind of just comes up with guns and po, you know, we're very vulnerable, you know, so.
Yeah,
and then
but
last
you don't
night
ask
I
the
got
people
told
to
off
go.
again. They're just telling people off and like, who coffee Anna? Like, wow. But good stuff, you know, it's nice to see. There's always a certain sort of comfort in having the police around, knowing, you know, that.
In the minute, it was, sometimes when I set off from the house, I'm sure you would have encountered, I see all sorts of, I'm on the lookout for suspicious vehicles and suspicious activity.
How do you classify a vehicle suspicious, Israel?
Okay, so I see two people sitting in a vehicle, and one is behaving in a very unusual manner, like maybe he's hurt or something. He's, you know, he's in pain. Okay, so I would think that maybe yes, they're going to the hospital, but then the direction they take.
It's not. You also know that early in the morning, around the time when we come to work, there's that washing squad who are rushing home.
No, these are
to go and get ready.
There were two men. I was quite suspicious.
Okay. It's funny how people are more suspicious of men than women, but yeah, interesting. I think the point really is that just be very mindful and very careful about.
What I actually wanted to do was to, you know, alert the police and tell them that I'm seeing this vehicle. I think it's suspicious.
Sometimes it's just a gut instinct, isn't it?
Yeah. You may want to track it, and they have the cameras.
So
they can monitor.
Then there's also the motorbikes, you know, very late at night.
In one instance, actually, one morning I was coming to work, I saw a vehicle that it actually almost crashed into me. So I had to chase it for a while because it was driving very terribly, you know, and it was moving in an unusual manner. I tracked it all through. It got to a point where it entered some bush.
You were like, nah.
I had to give up at that point.
I didn't come here for that.
But I called the police emergency number and nobody was answering.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's another conversation. Okay. Shall I move on with my newspaper?
Please do.
Okay. My nomination is an opportunity for women to be part of decision making. And this is the DCE nominee for Saulu Tuna Kalba district. And she says her nomination, every time I do talk about stories, I feel so, I don't know. The number of women nominated, like I'm just going to move on. Okay. 2 bereaved families to be compensated. Idra committee reports 3 other injured persons to benefit. And there's a picture of Kaka on the page 15. May his soul continue to rest in peace. 4 assemblies give unanimous approval to nominees. Deal vigorously with institutions that pollute the environment. Good one there. Trade Ministry unveils Ghana's program of action. Okay. Let me just quickly skim through. Lack of sign language interpreters deny many basic education, of course. World Contraception Day marked in Tamale. Men above 40 years advised to screen for prostate cancer. Israel, have you had your balls checked?
No, not in recent times.
Okay, you must have them checked. BOG keeps policy rates at 13.5%. I love how you answered that with such a straight face.
How else do you expect me to answer?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, okay. You can ask me again. Maybe
No, I can't.
It's too heavy. Have you had your balls checked? Yes, I have an M1.
Oh, no, you haven't, actually. Arteta eyes more special. Look at I. You've won one match. Arsenal people, dear. You've won one match, no. You're eyeing more special days. Please. It's not going to change.
Oh, it's not just one match. They won another match. I think they say they are back.
From where? They're dead.
For how long?
Exactly. Okay, back page. Pate Kudus Duncan returned to Black Stars in Milo's first provisional squad for Zimbabwe doubleheader. And government urged to support rural banks. I want to do the daily guide, but I think we don't have time because we have to do myjoyonline.com. But let me just skim through. I bought Silicon Belly for 30 Ghana cedis. And then entertainment news, which is what I enjoy doing from the Daily Guide. Take our pictures down. AMG Armani denies relationship with Ikuapem Polo. Now, I think this is a great conversation to have. You find that women are posting their relationships more on social media in a bid to claim, you know, this. I had one of my friends, right? She started dating this guy. And obviously she's older and, you know, he's older as well. And she posted him and she was like, management are concerned, whose boo is this? And she put like, it was like a background check. Like, you know, if this is your boyfriend, come and claim him as well before the responses were very
before things get down and
exactly.
It's too late.
It's too late, right? Anyway,
okay. The Daily Dispatch too.
No,
I'll be surprised. Oh, just the front page. I'll be surprised if Dufour gets 10% of delegates' votes against Mahama. That's if Adobo's take. And reconsider Nana if you want to go beyond one term. That's Ben F. Singh advising the NDC.
Okay. Should we go to my Joy Online real quick, super quick? All right. A drug murder probe committee makes 10 recommendations for government consideration. The licensed sex predator part 1, divorce, rape of suicidal woman. Government.
We're actually showing that.
Yes.
We'll have excerpts on the AM show.
Yeah. We did a bit before the news. So government sued over Kumasi Technical University sale of 9 cars. Takoradi woman in alleged fake pregnancy and kidnap saga gets bail. A drug murder probe. There was no justification for deployment of police riot vehicle to funeral of Kaka. 2 billion Sino-Hydro deal. Government justifies non-completion of some road projects. We used to play football here. Now our beach is a plastic dump. Choco chokes on plastic. We really need to get our recycling game, you know, up and running. Because if we were recycling, we have. So have you been to the Choco? Actually, I've been to Choco. I've been to Adbobloshi. You know, all these places where they throw the rubber bags and stuff and all of that. And if we were recycling, I mean, it would be fantastic. Because we have the resources, and we need to stop using so many rubber bags. You buy one slice of bread, it gets put into a white bag, then into a blue bag. Then if you're a rich person, they'll put the black bag and the white bag into a blue bag. You know, like it's a lot.
I tend to reject the polythene bags a lot of the time. But yeah, yesterday on the conversation we had Dr. Ntiamwa joining us from the US, and she was saying that maybe we should go the way of you know, the developed countries where
paper bags.
Well, apart from that, if you
come with your own bag.
You come with your own bag. If you want a plastic bag, you pay for it.
I remember when they started doing that in London. I was there at that time, and it was so inconvenient to have to carry, you know, your Tesco bags to Tesco. You know, you have to buy. They had these like reusable bags, but it was good because you know that you're doing something that helps the environment.
Yes.
So, but Ghana here, hey, not today. Anyways, Orakes with the eyelashes is joining us on Zoom this morning for the sports. This is the joy of technology, but we have something for you.
All right, so it's time for the sports. Vado Reku is joining via Zoom. Hello, Reku. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Israel.
Okay, so you bring us the sports.
And yeah, it was an interesting past 12 hours, and that's because Milovan Rajevic has named his first squad, and this is a provisional squad ahead of the double header against Zimbabwe in the World Cup qualifiers. So we'll just take a look at that squad, and it's been raising a little bit of conversation on social media, especially because of the first slide. We would have a debutant in Jojo Walcott, who plays for Swindon Town in League 2. And a lot of Ghanaians are not too convinced about that.
Why though? What's the issue with Jojo Walcott?
Well, so in terms of the football pyramid, League 2 in England is the 4th division. So that's the lowest possible tier in England football. And they are raising questions as to whether we don't have quality here in Ghana. And why would you go all the way to England to just go and call, you know, a goalkeeper from the 4th division? So that has been the concern of majority of, you know, the fans.
But apparently he's been doing quite well. That's why they called him up, right?
Yeah. But also another angle is the fact that you look at Abdul Manaf. He plays in Switzerland with Upin FC, and he's also doing quite well. He got a call up the last international break. He wasn't played, and then he wasn't called this time around, and we see another goalkeeper. So I think it's generally the lack of consistency. But you also get the feeling that the FA are trying to tie down some of these players because there's a possibility they could switch to their native countries as well.
Okay, yeah, I get that. But does it really matter if it comes to goalkeeping? Does it really matter? Do you need the person to be playing in the top flight league, as in the Premiership, for instance?
Well, I think it counts as a plus, but if you look at the performances of our goalkeepers in recent matches, I don't think we have the right to be complaining much. Richard Ofori has been a bit for Abalora before that, was also making a few mistakes. So I think Ghanaians should embrace the chance to see another goalkeeper in the stakes.
All right, so let's go through the rest of the slides.
Yeah, so Lawrence Atizigi, he's a familiar face, and we have Richard Atta of Hartlepool, and then Ibrahim Danlad of Asante Kotoko. In terms of defenders, Philemon Bafo maintains his place in the call-ups. Andrew Yadom, also from Reading, is in the team. And then we have Ismail Gadiyu making a return. He plays for Asante Kotoko. Gideon Mensah and Barbara Man would battle it out for the left-back slot. Daniel Amate, Joseph Edu, Jonathan Mensah, and Alexander Jiku complete the list, 4 defenders.
All right, and when CK Akono made his last call up there, those who said some of the players they themselves felt that they didn't qualify to be called up. Are we seeing any such thing in this squad as well?
I think even if we did, the player wouldn't come out to say it, because Braden Menu, who came out to say that he didn't think he deserved a place, did not get a call up this time round. So I think that serves as a deterrent for any of the players in there. But I think Philemon Bafo of Dreams FC, the defender, has raised a lot of questions, and that's because he's always getting call-ups. This is his 5th since last year, but he's never played a game for the Black Stars. And so it's a big concern, because what then is the basis for calling him up? Because he hasn't played, he hasn't been active in club football, because the Ghana Premier League has been on a break in the past 2 months or so. So he's also one that has brought about a lot of question marks.
Yeah, but people should relax, because like we say in Ghana, your time will come.
Oh yeah, definitely. But I think we can take a look at the forwards now. And let's take a look at the midfielders. Thomas Partey of Arsenal. If we could just go back to the midfielders, we have Thomas Partey in there. Alfred Duncan, after a year out, also returns. Papa Iridjusu maintains his place. Emmanuel Lomote, one with another question mark still in the squad. Mubarak Wakaso, Mohamed Kudus back from injury, expected to be back in the team. Ashimeru Kofi Tre, after his debut, returns to the squad, and Abdul Fattah Isaac of Steadfast is also within the squad.
All right, so we go to the forwards now.
Yeah. We have Andre Ayew. He's been informed for his new side, Al Sadd, scoring 3 goals in his first 4 games. Kamaldeen Sulemana getting a brace in his last 2 games for Rennes as well. Tari Fosu-Henry has been struggling with Brentford, yet to play a Premier League game this season. Joel Fameye scored 7 goals this season. Yao Yeboah is back into the team after that wonder goal that he scored. We have Samuel Owusu, and then Jordan Ayew, who missed a big chance yesterday and has now gone 34 games without scoring for Crystal Palace. Caleb Kuban makes a return to the national team setup. Emmanuel JC as well. And for Benjamin Tete, after getting a lot of opportunities with the youth sides, he finally gets a chance to make his debut with the Black Stars.
So of these forwards, which of them would you say is the sharpest, or the one with the best prospects?
I think I'll go for Benjamin Tete with what he's proven so far this season. 24-year-old, and he scored 3 goals this season in the Turkish Light, which is quite a quality league. So I think he's the most informed striker that we do have at the point. Emmanuel JC also as well, but he's more of a wide man. And Andre Ayew, is good to have him back and scoring goals too.
All right, great.
But still on the Black Stars, then Milovan Rajevac, and we just saw Melody in his first squad, but one player who is still active and playing in Georgia and had the opportunity of playing under the Serbian, was speaking to me in an exclusive interview on what it feels like and what really goes on within the camp when Milovan Rajevac was the coach.
We speak to you on
Coach Milovan Rajevac. He comes in as a second spell. First off, what were initial impressions when you heard the news that he is coming back as the Black Stars coach?
I think when I heard it, I was happy, to be honest. When I heard that the FA is talking to Milovan, I was really happy because in my head I said they are doing the right thing. You know, they are making the right decision to bring him back. I was so happy when I heard it.
When you say the right decision, what do you mean by making the right decision?
I would just put it in this way that our Blasters team. Yes, I'm not saying that the coaches before were not good coaches. You understand, but the team that we have, we need a disciplined coach. I will not say previous ones are not disciplined. You understand what I mean? But we need coaches that they can control in the dressing room as well. And that is why I'm saying that I was really happy when I heard that the FA was talking to him, because at the end of the day, he know what he wants, to be honest.
Well, definitely he's one coach who knows what he wants. But let's talk about your personal experience with Milo. Do you remember the first time you met him, and what was the interaction between the two of you like?
I think it was amazing, young player. He came to me, he was talking to me that I have the potential. I just have to stay focused, work hard, and I will have my chance, And he's a coach that I like so much because he doesn't prepare his team based on names. You understand what I mean? He prepares his team based on whoever who want to show that he's ready to play. That is one thing I like about him. And he's a coach that he always want to win in dressing room. And if I'm not wrong, you know that in this kind of job that we are doing, if you win the locker room, I think, to be honest, for sure, 100% that you are going to win every single game.
But what type of coach is Milo? How does he come across to his players?
For me, it's not only on the pitch, outside the pitch as well. He care about the players. He check maybe if some player have a problem, maybe wife problem, or you understand, family problem or something like that. And that makes him a proper manager.
For you personally, he gave you a chance after your exploits with the under-20, going to Africa, conquering Africa, and then conquering the world as well. Being a young player at that point, how did it feel like having the manager's trust, especially at the big stage of the national team?
That is why I'm describing him the kind of manager he is. You understand what I mean? When it comes about national team, in our national team, Ghana national team, before we were basing on the names, you understand what I mean? But when he came, he also gave we young players chance that, come on, if you show me on training, you are going to play.
But in terms of communication, we've seen him use a translator even recently when he was reappointed. How was the communication barrier like? Did you have to go through a translator, or there were some times where he could understand basic English? And what was it like?
No, he always come with the translator. He always, even if you want to speak to you on in his room or come into your room, he always bring him for you to understand what he's talking about. You understand what I mean? As for English, he understands basic, like good morning, how are you? This is normal for every human being. You understand what I mean? But if he really wants you to understand what he wants, the philosophy he wants you to be on the page, he always come with the translator.
So take me through what the experience is like when you report to training and what he usually expects from the players. Is he a type of coach that demands a lot, and is he quite tight on players, or is he the very soft, calm guy? How is Milo like, especially at the training grounds?
Milovan, for me, I would just put that Milovan is such a lovely man. But when it comes about the work, it's different. He doesn't want anybody to make any decision. You understand? As for his work, he controls. He's in charge. He's his own boss. You understand? Milovan is more disciplined as well. Training time, when he says 6, you have to be there 6. When you are there 6-1, you will never train. So that tells you how he understands his job. That tells you how he wants to win. And if you are talking about all this kind of thing, that will let you win a game. Especially if I'm late 20 minutes, other players late 40 minutes, 5 minutes. How can the team, you will never have a teamwork. But he's a man that when he tells you sleep, you have to. If you don't sleep and he finds out, you will be under punishment.
All right, good morning, and this is still the AM show. This morning, as I indicated, we'll be taking you through the recommendations made by the Ejura Probe Committee following its inquiry into the violence in the Ashanti region town in June this year, which claimed 2 lives and left a number of people injured. So apart from the recommendations, we'll also be looking at the findings, because they've made some findings and would want to share that with you. Some interesting findings, I must say. So we also need to look at the terms of reference for the committee. It says, conduct a public inquiry into the circumstances that led to the unfortunate occurrences at the Ejura in the Ashanti region on Tuesday, June 29. Inquire into any matter the committee considers incidental or reasonably related to the cause of the event and the associated deaths and injuries, and then submit a detailed report with recommendations for appropriate action within 10 days. That's the 9th of July. By the 9th of July. They were, of course, giving some more time after that. So let's look at the findings as we have them. And as you can see on the screen, they say, we note from the onset that an examination of the entire evidence obtained clearly demonstrates that the death of Mohammed Ibrahim, aka Kaka, served as the catalyst that triggered the disturbances which took place in Ejura on the 28th and 29th of June 2021, culminating in the death of 2 persons and injuries of 4 others. In relation to the events leading to the death of Kaka, then they brought in the wife, informed the committee that during the lifetime of her husband, he was very critical and through social media of the lack of development in Ejura. This, according to her, courted the anger of certain persons in the MPP, the party to which her late husband belonged. According to her, the husband informed her about the threats issued by certain individuals against him regarding his activities on social media. In her view, the husband might have been killed as a result of his social media activities. But then they also took note of the account, the eyewitness account giving, or testimony given by some other people involved. So Abewakas Umar testified and tendered 5 videos and an audio to support his testimony that the late Kaka informed that the MC of Ejura had directed his tax to warn Kaka. Essentially, so Abewakas was saying that, yes, as far as he's concerned, the Kaka was killed because of his activism. He talked about death threats that had been made on his life. But then the committee also says they looked at they thought that he didn't quite come clean with the committee. He says they found his evidence not so credible. In fact, if we can move on to exactly what they said about his evidence. But yes, they indicated, so let me just go to that. Committee notes that the authenticity of the videos and audio presented to it by Abewakas is highly in doubt. These videos only surfaced after the death of Kaka. The committee further notes that the wife of Kaka eloquently narrated everything she said was passed on by her late husband. In all these, she said she did not report the alleged threats on the life of her husband to the police. Neither did she give the names of the said persons who were threatening her husband to the police, although she claimed she knew the persons. The committee further received the evidence of one Sadia Husseini, a co-tenant of Kaka family. Her testimony was that on the night of 26th of June, she was performing ablution in her room, and when she heard the engine sound of Kaka's motorbike, she suddenly heard a noise which aroused her suspicion. Her curiosity led her to find out what had happened in the compound of the house. She stated that she saw the elder brother of the late Kaka towards the direction, of the late Kaka called Baba Idi, dragging the deceased Kaka towards the direction of the general bathroom. Just then the light went off around the bathroom. She stated further that she raised an alarm and went to knock on the door of Sahada Hudu, the wife of Kaka. But one of the interesting things that emerged from all that the committee heard from this other lady, Sadia Husseini, was that they thought that what she had to say was more probable, or they felt that what she had to say was more credible. I'm trying to go to exactly what they had to say about that. So it says, for the 10th paragraph, we, after careful examination of the evidence relating to the events preceding the death of Kaka, are convinced that the evidence as testified to by Sadia Husseini is more reasonably probable than the unsubstantiated evidence of Abewakas and Sahada Hudu, which are more speculative. We accordingly find that the death of Kaka was not directly linked to his social media activism. It is more probably a family feud. It is also supported by the testimony of Aminu Muhammad, a resident of Ejura. Now, at this point, let's move to the recommendations. And then we can bring in our guest who will be speaking to us on giving us their initial reactions to all that has happened. You know, this is an issue that has been in the public domain for a while, and a lot of people have had their thoughts and had something to say about it. But let's get to the recommendations. Okay, so the first recommendation, the committee recommends adequate compensation for the families of the two deceased persons. Adequate compensation must also be paid to other injured persons. 2, the committee recommends the immediate transfer of the district police commander of Ejura, DSP Philip Kojo Hammond, for his incompetence in handling the situation, and for the fact that his relationship with the community seems to have been damaged beyond repair. That's recommendation number 2. 3, we further recommend the structural expansion of the Ejura police station and an increase in personnel. And then we recommend the removal of the Ejura Sechidumasi Municipal Chief Executive, Honorable Mohammed Salisu Bamba, since his continuous presence as MCE would exacerbate the already tense security situation. And we're learning that the chief MCE for the area is actually not in contention again. And it is further recommended that the military establishment reviews the actions of the section on the ground led by Lieutenant Martinopoku Edusei for the inappropriate use of force and apply appropriate sanctions. All right, so these are just some of the recommendations that we're getting from the committee that proved the Ejura violence. Now let's get on to Zoom and bring in some of the people we're going to get their reactions. We have Adam Bona, who's a security analyst. We have Oliver Baka-Vomowo, who wants us to call him Osajofo Oliver Baka-Vomowo. And then we're also going to bring in the Sheikh Arimia, who is the spokesperson for the Chief Imam. Good morning to you all, and thank you for making time to speak with us on this very important issue.
Good morning. Good morning.
All right, so I'll take your initial thoughts, Adam Bona. What do you make of the recommendations? In fact, let's start with the findings first of all, before we go on to the recommendations. Some interesting findings there.
Yes, especially good morning and good morning to my colleague panelists. Good morning to them and your viewers. Yes, the findings, you realize that a lot of pack of lies were told. So you notice the military who, were at the hearing got indicted. According to the military, of which we all heard, the crowd, some members of the crowd, had with them firearms and they fired at the military to the extent that the military, those who were there actually alleged that it's possible or probably the probability that the bullet that killed these two people wasn't fired from their weapon has been probably call it, the committee said what they said was a pack of lies. And if you move from there, they also did mention in their findings issues to do with the carcass death, of which I thought the committee should not have gone to the extent of mentioning who might have killed Kaka and the family feud. But I must put across that the committee, I was probably a bit worried about the committee and how they were going about their work. But looking at it, looking forward, I would say that they've done quite a good job. So I must say Justice Compensate and his people have done quite a good job. But there are aspects of it which I think they shouldn't have gone into, especially knowing how Kaka died and the fact that Kaka's death is a subject that is being dealt with in the courts. And so you have a committee that has probably is alleging how Kaka might have died. And he didn't die through his activism. He died because there was a family feud. Well, I believe that all that will be proven in court. But I would have wished that the committee, knowing very well how he died, would have stayed away from this issue since they were not there to investigate Kaka's death. They were there to, even though one would say Kaka's death was a precursor to whatever unfolded. And also, I didn't see the regional minister was not indicted. I didn't see the police in the region. When the regional minister is not there per their structure, the security structure in the local area, you have the regional minister who is in charge of the region in terms of security. Then you have the police regional commander who is in charge. These two people were not indicted. I would have wished that these two people would have been mentioned at least, but they were not mentioned with regards to as if they did nothing wrong.
All right.
And so I worry because these people were their names or they were not mentioned.
All right. So I would be coming back to you, Mr. Bona, for more on this, but I would also want to bring in Oliver Baka-Vormawor and the issue you raised, Mr. Bona, about the fact that, they strayed into an area that they probably shouldn't have, which is the circumstances leading to the death of Kaka and whose evidence was more probable. I want to bring you in Baka-Vormawor. Let's look at the terms of reference of the committee. So, one, conduct a public inquiry into the circumstances that led to the unfortunate occurrences at the Ejura and Ashanti region on Tuesday, June 29, 2021. Inquire into any matter the committee considers incidental or reasonably related to the cause of the event and associated deaths and injuries. Wouldn't this be a justification for the committee wanting to investigate somehow or to some extent the death of Kaka?
Thank you, Israel. I think that if we are minded to give that broad interpretation to inquire into any matters related to how the people died, they might as well have investigated who gave birth to Kaka and whether Kaka's father is Kaka's father. I mean, it's straining absurdity for them, and particularly when you have a justice of the Court of Appeal sitting on a committee like this, to be doing a foray into matters as to who killed Kaka and the circumstances that led to Kaka's death. If you remember very well from the proceedings of the committee, The widow of Kaka had asked the committee clearly and on record whether the committee was looking into who killed Kaka and the circumstances related to his death. The committee was very clear that they had no mandate to look into the matter. And so to do this, when we know very well that somebody is in, or certain persons are in police custody, have been arraigned before court, have been remanded, and that there's an active murder investigation going on relating to the death of Kaka, one would think, even if you're not legally aware, that common sense would lead you into a direction whereby you'd make the determination that all that is necessary for our determination here is today is why did the people of Ejura come out to protest? They themselves say in the report that the reason why the youth did that was because of the incompetencies around the investigation into the attack on Kaka's life. Now, that is sufficient alone to coming out for people who said that the police are not doing enough regarding the reports that have been made to them on the death of a person of repute in the community. You have no business, zero business, going into determining whether or not the widow of Kaka, by the fact that she did not report the threat on the husband's life, for which reason she's not credible for some reason. How many of us have been in a situation and refused to report those instances to the police? Just a couple of days ago, Andrea Owusu, who's a socialite known as Ifia Odo, has come out and said that the reason why she was not at the Face the Country demonstration was because she received threats on her life that people were going to pour acid on her at the demonstration. She chose not to attend the demonstration, but did not go on to report to the police. For so many reasons, we all understand that every time we go to the police, that our experiences with the police do not put us in a situation where we are confident that they take anything you tell them seriously, or two, they send you off to go and investigate and find the house of a suspect and then pay their fuel and transportation for them to go and arrest the person. And so the determination whether or not you wanted to report a threat on a life to the police is not a basis for determining whether or not a threat is credible or not credible. But beyond that, they themselves have gone on and said the reasons why the persons came out is one, that the police failed to act properly. Two, they provoked the people by sending the military van, the water cannon, to the cemetery where Kaka was being buried. They said that themselves. So I do not see what benefit it gives or what clarity it gives as to why the persons died and the violence that was unleashed on the community of Ejura by going on and saying that we have decided that this person's testimony to us is more credible, and for which reason. And they go on even to say that Kaka's death was a result of a family feud. A family feud. There's no finding that they make. There was a wider family feud that was happening within the family of Kaka. And so then how do you jump to a conclusion that there's a family feud going on? I'm baffled. And I think that this is an indictment on the integrity of the Justice of the Court of Appeal, himself, Kumsin. And I single him out particularly because at least one would expect that he's legally aware. And the fact that he would preside over a committee that would do this, for me, says a lot about a judiciary where a lot of people think that it is sensitive to political manipulation. Because I do not see whatever reason would lead them to this conclusion.
Oliver, I'd want to just state it clearly exactly what the committee said in its findings. It says, it is more probably a family feud. So they were not conclusive.
Yeah, but it doesn't do any justice to anybody. If I say it is more probably he drank poison on his own, it doesn't take away the fact that I have thrown a bone out there which I have no basis to make that determination, right? So it doesn't achieve anything even if you fail to say it conclusively. But even before you say that, there's a statement they make much more conclusively before that, and I would hope that you would read that before they say it is more probably a family feud.
So is it still that section or the paragraph 10?
Yes, the same section.
Okay, after careful examination of the evidence relating to the events preceding the death of Kaka, are convinced that the evidence as testified to by Sadia Husseini is more reasonably probable than the unsubstantiated evidence of Abewakas and Sahada Hudu, which are more speculative. We accordingly find that the death of Kaka is not directly linked to his social media activism. And that's the point where they say it is more probably
to be able to determine conclusively, as they claim to have done, that Kaka's death was not directly linked to social media activism would have required a determination that they was not capable of doing. So this is conclusive language that they have already determined that Kaka's death was caused by persons other than people who were motivated by social media activism.
All right.
They have no basis for making that determination. And I am continuously baffled that they would go on to make that, even when they make rookie mistakes in the report. For instance, they describe another person who they claim, Miniratu Al-Hassan, who they claim provided collaborative evidence as a tenant in the house. She was not a tenant in the house. So you do not even know the quality of the persons whose testimony you decide to believe. She was not a tenant in the house. This is another person living in a neighbor. So again, I am trying to find the most charitable ways to describe the report. And because I found, one, that the report itself is structurally incompetent. You start the report off where we get a lot of information of who testified and what did what, without properly organizing the information. So you do not have information that relates to the context and circumstances that led to the incident of Nigeria in one proper context. You do not have the failings in a detailed way in which they treat what they consider to be intelligence, or whether or not there's improper intelligence gathering, as to which would lead to the deployment of the military. They do not do those things. They do not come then to determine who, in fact, killed the individuals there. Because they themselves have talked about evidence where somebody is saying that it was related to pump action gun and locally manufactured weapons. Where during the hearings, a member of the committee says that he finds it much more plausible that the people shot themselves. There's no determination in the report where they treat that and properly discount that theory.
All right.
So in terms of organizing the report itself, it is structurally poor. Then the internal inconsistencies, and I think we'll get to that, between the findings and also the recommendations that they make, that they are internally inconsistent. So perhaps the mistake we make when we put certain persons on a committee, I don't know, is that these persons have never done this job before. And we are hoping that by reason of the fact that the person is the justice of the Court of Appeal, by some reason he has what it takes to be able to lead a committee and write a reasonably sound report. I don't think that this does justice to that belief at all.
Let me bring in Adam Bona. So staying on this paragraph 10, which appears to be quite contentious, do you also agree with Oliver that most of the things in there should have been left out? The committee should have stayed away from some of the conclusions they've come to in this paragraph?
Exactly. I think, especially when the issue is probably being dealt with by the courts, how Kaka died, who killed him, and especially when we are told that Kaka's brother is a key suspect in the case. What it means is that if Kaka, if the other person who is in custody, one of the guys in custody is a biological brother of Kaka, then it means that call it persist. And so I would have wished that they stayed away from it, but I'm not sure what the pronunciation or the pronouncement they've made will do to the case in court. I'm sure the judges are professional enough and the prosecutors are professional enough to deal with the with how Kaka died and who killed Kaka. So I would have wished that they stayed away from it, but unfortunately they did. And, but I must say,
are there any other of the findings that you find problematic?
Not that. I've reviewed it. Not. I think apart from this, no.
Okay. So for you, you feel that they did quite a good job, except for a few exceptions.
Yes. I think they did a good job. I think they did a good job apart from some of this side. So obviously, we aren't going to have a report that would be foolproof. And so obviously, most especially indicting the military and, letting, we all knew that, we all knew those who killed these young people. We all knew how they came in. This was captured on video. And if you notice, also they mentioned the video as, they put out there by your reporter, Erastus Asaridonko. Initially, some of us were probably very worried the way they were handling the issue. But looking forward, you can see, I would have expected that they would in a way. I don't know whether it's acceptable to apologize, but it would have been good to apologize to Erastus, especially looking at how he had to put his own life on the line, go out there. And it is based on that video, the videos from the multimedia reporter in the region that helped them to come to most of these conclusions and to indict some of these people who were there to lie. You also notice they also indicted the police in a way, because why do you send, call it a water cannon to a cemetery? Who does that? Modern day policing, who does that when the people are infuriated by the fact that one of them is dead, and you send a water cannon? And so there were a lot of inconsistencies. Those who were there to give testimony.
All right.
And I think they put it right.
Okay,
it
so
is right.
I'd want us to go to the recommendations then, and I would want to start with you, Mr. Bona. So let's go through the recommendations. Any one of them that you find particularly interesting?
I think all of the, okay, so for instance, what's the name? The police commander who is to be moved, and then the DCE who is to be dismissed. I want to see a further probe into what they did wrong. We need to know what they did wrong. A further probe into what they did wrong will help us establish, probably, because this committee's report shouldn't be a finality. And also there is an aspect of it that talks about body cameras. Some of us have been advocating for transparency in the way our security officers work. You go all over the world, and I think I've had this conversation with you, Israeli, in the past.
Yes.
Why police officers must have body cameras. And I am aware that the government and the Interior Ministry, the police, are in the process of procuring about 20,000 or more body cameras, in addition to procuring, dashboard cameras, so that if police officers step out there and they, engage citizens, these cameras are going to be giving feedback to the command and control center, so that all of these things, excesses, brutality that we see or we've seen in the past, will stop.
Right.
One other thing that they spoke about has to do with the expansion of a Jura, police station. They did also mention training of the MMDCs and RECSEC, those in charge of the RECSEC and MUSEC and the rest. You will realize what happened in Western region, where the minister in the Western region clearly jumped ahead of himself, forgetting that he's not a technocrat, he's solely a policymaker, and he's not a PRO for the Ghana Police, he's not a PRO for the Medical and Dental Council, started, allegedly saying he paid ransom to, it means that this regional minister is not well schooled when it comes to the security architecture of his own region, how he should deal with security and how the security must work. And so training is important. And you remember that Ayawaso Commission report, the Justice Short Commission report, made these same recommendations, that these people must be trained. After 9/11, coordination, seamless operations of security officers, NADMO and all these people other places have done that.
Yeah.
We haven't done that.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, these are things that I want to see. And I'm also, at least I picked up information that the police, the FPU, the police form unit, we only have one in Accra. What it means is that if there are rioters in Tamale and other places, the police would find it difficult dealing with it. I am told that there's an expansion that is going to take place to make it 25. So Ashanti region would have 5, Greater Accra 3, Northern region 2, and the other regions will have 1. The other 15 police regions would have 1 each. So I think if all these things are implemented, this type of brutality, and also it will limit or reduce the interface between the military and the civilian population. The military should not be calling when people are picketing, when people are demonstrating. It is part of our democracy. And the military should only be called in when, they are violent, but people throwing stones and you fire live bullets at them. I think this, for me, was captured by the report, which I find satisfying. Israel.
Okay, thank you. Now, Oliver, so you have an issue. You said you were going to tell us the inconsistencies between the findings and the recommendations. So you go at it now.
So let's first look at paragraph 24.
All right. Of the findings or the recommendations? Well,
of the
findings. Yeah.
Yes.
In response,
they say to us that
in relation to the response of the military personnel on June 29, we note from the evidence that immediately the personnel touched down, they started firing warning shots, contrary to the evidence of the GOC, Central Command, which was to the effect that they gave a verbal warning, which was ignored before the warning shots began.
So first of all, here you have an incident where they are saying particularly that the persons who testified before them, the military personnel, lied. That what they did was that they came in, immediately they touched down, they started firing shots, right? Now they chose to describe those live ammunition then as warning shots. But then they go on then in 25, that they did not consider these acts of the youth an extreme provocation that required the firing of live ammunition into the crowd. Then in 26, they say that the firing of live ammunition achieved the intended purpose of dispersing the rioters. At no point should the committee be suggesting that the firing of live ammunition into the crowd had any particularly militarily relevant value or purpose. Because if you do that, you water down the seriousness of the language you're using to describe the military action. And this is one of the things which I think that we should pay careful attention to, because the devil is in the detail. At one breath, when you find no particular justification for the use of military weapon, you can't then go on and say that it achieves its intended purpose. There's no purpose to the firing of military weapon that should be excused in this particular matter. Then you go on in the recommendation, in the last recommendation, and recommend that the establishment of a sports and other recreational facilities in Ejura under the Zongo Development Fund to rechannel the energies of the youth. Again, the energies of the youth is not a problem in this entire report, right? Nobody is complaining that we lack Azuma Nelsons or football players. And that's for which reason we don't know how to apply our energy. When you have said categorically that the reason why the youth were onto the street was, one, because of the police inaction in investigating properly the death of Kaka, and you call it the single act of provocation of deploying the vans to the cemetery. What is the connection between that and asking for a sports facility to be established for the youth to rechannel their energies? So I don't know how, to what extent the establishment of a stadium, for instance, would solve the problems of ineptitude of our security sector here. But secondly, they go on and talk about failings of intelligence gathering, failings of intelligence sharing, for which reason we are made to understand that there's a whole improper way in which intelligence is dealt with completely in this entire thing. But then the only recommendation we see is that we should bring them to Ghana Armed Forces Staff College for them to be trained well. We do not get any proper sanctions that are determined for these failings. The fact that persons have been killed and have been murdered, there's no recommendations regarding persons who should be prosecuted at all in this report. So even though we know, and even when the police use improper use of force by the Ghana Police Service, persons related to that have been indicted and properly prosecuted. So if the same has happened in this case, there's no talk about prosecutions whatsoever in this entire report. I do not understand it. Secondly, you cannot claim that we should pay due compensation to certain individuals without having concluded completely that there's an entire negligence or negligent failing that resulted in their death. It's basic law or basic negligence that the only reason why you pay compensation for somebody's death is that you are wholly responsible for the death of the person. Now, if the actions then result in both have criminal consequences and civil consequences, you can only talk about the civil, which is then to compensate them, and leave out the criminal aspects of what you have done. Let's go on further.
Are you suggesting that the committee decided to stay away from indicting anybody because if they did, or to justify the compensation, then would have meant that it would lead to some criminal proceedings.
I think that absolutely that I don't know their motivations for leaving that out. And I think Adam has also talked about the fact that they go on the low-hanging fruit, dismiss the MCE, transfer the police, the DCOP at the police station. I think those are low-hanging fruits. Those are all they say in terms of punitive measures. I am still at pains as to why we consider transfer in any particular regard as a failure to handle a particular situation, and all the lapses we've talked about, how a transfer is considered as a punitive measure. Transfers in a normal police work are part of how police administrative functions. And when we continue to treat a transfer as a punitive measure, one, we lower down expectations of what, or that we lower down the bar as to what improper police conduct entails. Two, we treat a transfer, which is a part of the administrative functioning, as a punitive measure on our police institutions. And that's why you see consistently in our public service that wherever persons have done something or have taken certain actions, the way in which politicians seek to discipline them is to transfer them out. And this is the line in which this report continues to toe, which I find very disappointing. They go on and say that the NCC should educate, intensify its public education in relation to the rights, obligations, and civic responsibilities of the people of Ejura. I for one, do not see what role or what expectations they have of the NCC, or whether or not they understand the NCC's mandate in relation to the incidents of Ejura. I don't see in the findings why they see that it is because the persons have poor education, and for which reason the NCC must come in. It seems to me that's a collection of recommendations that are ill-justified that have been bundled together. We've talked about gear for the military, and I would think, for me, it seems to be the most substantive recommendation they make here. But even that, you can say, as Adam has mentioned, that you can go back to the Ayawaso report and take that and plan that in. Because of the credibility of the Ayawaso report, it seems more plausible to me that they have brought this in here without making any clear determination or finding as to why that is necessary in this particular case, and just dumped it in here to give some gravitas to the report, which it clearly does not have.
All right, so for you, you have a problem. I mean, isn't there anything good at all coming from this report as far as you are concerned?
As far as I'm concerned, I see a lot of tentativeness in naming the beast. One, they say what's one thing that everybody has been thinking, that the use of violence by the military was completely unjustified. And then what? To say that enough must have a particular resonance in your recommendations, which it does not have. So it is not enough to give persons, a sniff of the bone without revealing the full meat. This is where I have the biggest problem. Right. That if we become content in throwaway comments here and there, would have failed to do justice to the totality of the report, where there's a complete disconnect between making a significant finding that the military essentially just went there and shot people and killed them and maimed them, and making no recommendations that are, carefully weighted to the gravity of that finding. This is where my problem lies.
Okay, now, Mr. Bona, so you have, you've already stated that you've seen some positives or some good things about this report. I want to believe that once we see these recommendations being implemented, it can bring some closure to at least some of the people who have been involved in this, correct?
Yes. Compensation is one thing we need to consistently push because as we speak, some of the dead persons were called them breadwinners of their families. And so they are no longer there. Who's taking care of their families, we don't know. So I think as quickly as possible, the authorities, the powers that be, should put themselves together and compensate the victims' family, that's the dead, their families. And for those who got permanent injuries and those who have other forms of injuries, I think there has to be a determination to quickly pay these people, give them whatever compensation that they, would have to give them. And I'm sure one of them got his leg amputated. What it means is that he will not be able to do a lot, in that situation. So such persons, they have to be long-term plans for such a person once there is an admission of guilt that they were, what happened shouldn't have happened. Then I'm believing that compensation would not be adequate enough to bring back the dead and, take away their pain. But it could be to assuage their pain, to reduce the impact of their pain. I think my colleague on the other side mentioned sending the officers back to, the Armed Forces College to be trained. I think we should rather look for a better place to send them. And I am saying this because it is an institution that is owned by the military. So they should have been trained in the first place, before being deployed. And so if after committing this, after this incident, we are sending them back there, then I don't see what difference that will bring. And so I would have rather recommended maybe they are sent somewhere else, which I'm not too sure, where they would have to be sent to for proper schooling and proper training with dealing with crowd control and their temperament and how to deal with civilians because you don't hear Ghana Armed Forces going to Lebanon, and they went to Lebanon and they gunned down people. Even though we know the situation in Lebanon, we know the situation in those countries, Sudan and the rest. But you have Ghana military in our own backyard. When these things happen, sometimes some officers will take the loss. And I'm privy to the fact that the military high command has dealt with some of these incidents. But we want to see more going forward, so at the end of the day, we don't have civilians suffering in the hands of.
On the issue of training that they recommended, they're actually making reference to the training of RegSec, MUSEC, and DISEC officials in the Ashanti region, and in conflict and crisis management at the Ghana Armed Forces Training Command and Staff College at least once every year. So with regards to the troops themselves, what I see indicated here, that's on recommendation 7, we recommend the development of a joint standard operative procedure, SOP, for military police operations, including roles for indispensable allied agencies like the National Investigations Bureau, NADMO, Ghana National Fire Service, National Ambulance Service, etc. But I mean, I'm sure you'd agree that the members of RegSec, MUSEC, and the rest, it would be good to give them some training at the Ghana Armed Forces Command and Staff College.
Well, yes, it would be good to get them some training, but I would want to know why the Ghana Armed Forces and Staff College.
All right.
I'm curious. I just want to know because Ghana is not at war. I'm sure there are other courses they teach. So I would have wished that instead of sending them to the Ghana Armed Forces and Staff College, you send them to the police academy, because the police are supposed to be trained to deal with civilians. Soldiers and so I would want a situation where these people, because what happened in the Western region, what happened in the Ashanti region, what happened in, what do you call it, what's the name, Edra, Shedumase area, in all this. So if you send them, I want to know, I know there are other courses that would have to teach, conflict resolution and all that, but what would that amount to? I want to see how these people interface with the police, because the first point of call is not the armed forces. And so I don't know why. I don't know, because maybe my good friend Vladimir Nchidanso is there. I don't know whether that is the reason why it's recommended that they go there. But I would rather recommend that they are taken to the police academy, because when we have issues and we disagree, we go to the police station. The DCEs, MCEs are supposed to be interfacing with the police first before the military. I want to know why that recommendation, but
it could be that there's a special, he's aware of a special cause, Dr. Vladimir Chudan, so he's aware of a special cause that could cater to that. But thank you very much, Mr. Bona. I'll come to you, Oliver, and I want to end on the bit about adequate compensation. How do you compensate for someone's death?
I think that when we are thinking about lives that have been lost, and this is their first recommendation, obviously, naturally, justice comes in so many forms, right? For instance, the Kaka family themselves have been pursuing a different form of justice, which is seeing some religious relief by taking the audience of the National Chief Imam. Here, they're talking about monetary values for the deceased persons and the persons who've lost their lives. It's one of the ways in which courts try to evaluate and do that work. And I don't know what they have in mind or who they are directing that particular recommendation towards. It's not clear from this report.
All right.
But beyond that, one of the things I've said is that as a package and part of the package is criminal prosecution. That criminal prosecutions and the feeling that somebody has been held criminally responsible for the loss of a loved one goes a long way in the same regard. But thirdly, we should not forget that what we saw was violence on the community and that the community itself must heal. There's nothing in this report that takes into totality the pain of the community. So it's not by isolating one or two individuals who died or got injured, but the persons who are to flee from their life and seeing an expressive arm of the state, which is the military, shoot live ammunition towards them. That is the psychological trauma that this report doesn't deal with at all. And we should not make light of that. So that's one of the poverties in the recommendations around money, and that we can pay the people away. And we have done this a number of times, right? Like what happened with the stadium disaster. We thought that when we put money together, the pain of people would have healed. And when we failed to prosecute or properly, we failed to secure the criminal punishment for persons affiliated with that, we just moved on. And I think that is something we need to think about.
All right.
And this is one of the reasons why I am disappointed again in this idea of, what is lacking here is training. And that every time that persons caught in such violence against our people or civilians are determined, we come up again with this recommendation of just go and train them. It's a cop-out, to be honest, in my personal opinion.
All right.
And I am disappointed to see this repeat itself again.
All right. Thank you very much, Oliver Bakavomo, who's a convener of Fix the Country. And to you, Adam Bona, for joining us for this conversation. I'm sure we'll continue to have these conversations, and you would continue to have your takes on it. But thank you very much for joining us for this morning. Now, we're still on the AM show, and we're bringing you another installment of our conversation about World Environmental Health Day, which was commemorated on Sunday. And Nimwa shared with us the marked improvement in the field situation at the Kaneshie market. And yes, Nimwa I was quite surprised that the situation had improved so...
Oh, Kaneshie market, yeah, I mean...
probably because I've not been following events there.
Maybe, because I think even about 3 months ago or so, we visited the place, and if you compare it to maybe a year ago, so a year ago, when you're walking in, there's this, space where it's like a designated rubbish joint, except that there was no proper waste management, so there would be maybe 3, 4, 5 days worth of waste on the floor. The bins are full, there's maggots, there's flies, the smell is like, it was really, really bad. Right. But 3 months ago, we kind of noticed that, okay, there seems to be, some sort of system going for waste management. And yesterday we were able to confirm, that the trucks are coming to pick up the rubbish every morning. I think actually morning, afternoon, evening, or morning, evening. So more than once a day.
Yeah, Florence Kuchi indicated that they were constantly making sure that they were...
Yeah, constantly, because they generate a lot of rubbish. Yeah. So you notice that the market is cleaner, Kaneshie market is actually, majority of it is actually in the building. So, the building, obviously, they're sweeping, the outside is clean. You're not greeted with the smell of rubbish, so great work there. The thing that actually stood out from me is more the pollution by the trotros, because a lot of them are emitting smoke, okay. Black smoke. So you find that the smell of smoke is actually more poignant than the smell of rubbish. Right. So great...
work there.
Great work there.
And then the Clean Ghana team, Joy Clean Ghana team, we must say, they've done a great job with that. And apparently it's not just at Kaneshie, they've done same at Agbobloshi and one other market in the...
Okay, but I'm sure we'll pop through Agbobloshi.
Yeah. But then you also found out about the drainage situation.
Yeah, so you remember yesterday we were talking about drains and flooding and all of that. So Kaneshie, you don't see any gutters. You actually don't see any gutters. You're kind of wondering, how does this work and stuff. So Mr. Joseph Asitanga was, telling us about the fact that the whole of Kaneshie has underground drainage. So you won't see anything. Maybe you see the little holes, that are kind of, yeah. But then it all flows again to the Odo.
Okay.
So we kind of just followed the path of the drainage. And the thing about the Odo is that the water is coming all the way from Kwewu, from the mountains. Like the drainage system, let's not even have that conversation. But it's all flowing down, from there. And major issues happen when the Odo is full of rubbish and sand and silt. So we kind of just followed the pathway and then got to the Odo. And again, there seems to be really great management because the water levels are very low, which means that obviously there's not going to be flooding and all of that. And we spoke to Mr. Joseph Asitanga about the Odo, and he said a lot.
All right.
Standing under the Circle overpass, just in the middle here, and if you look behind me, there is a big pile of rubbish smack bang in the middle of the road, I would say. It's just in the middle, sitting there. And we're wondering where it's coming from. But we're still with Mr. Joseph Asitanga as we take a walk to check out the Odo River, because we want to follow the journey that rubbish makes through our drains, the final destination, and how we can really combat the problem. But we want to deal with this now. So, Mr. Asitanga, what exactly happened to cause this pile of rubbish in the middle of the road?
Yeah, what happens is that the whole of Circle here is a commercial center. And over the night, all business people, whoever operates here, they seem to, put the waste, as they have identified an accessible place for dumping the waste, and then they come and collect. And the assembly has put up a measure. There is a compactor truck. Outside now, that's the workers waiting. The truck is coming here. So in the next 30 minutes you get here, the waste will be cleared out of the place and tidied up. So the whole of the day, after it's cleared, nobody is allowed to put waste here. It's only overnight that we come, daybreak, you come to see this waste here.
So are we allowing them to do this? Or is this something that we plan on dealing with?
What we do is that we put up the compactor truck, a stationary compactor truck here. And the stationary compactor truck was get stationed here purposely for the market waste here. And all waste that was coming is dumped into the compactor truck straight. And when the truck is full, it moves. Okay, so as expansion of assemblies come up, we have done reallocation of these compactor trucks. And some of them have run down that they are under servicing. So that is the call for this. So this is a temporary thing. We don't allow them to dump with refuse here. If not, the time we pass here, in the next 30 minutes you come here, you don't see waste. So when the trucks are back on road, like we were having the numbers, a stationary truck is put here. And nobody is allowed to put the refuse on the floor.
Okay, so this is the situation here at Circle under the flyover. What we're going to do is that we're going to walk down to the Odo River because we want to see what the state of rubbish is in that river. So let's go to the Odo River. So we're in front, we're the side really of the Odo River. It's Odo Lake. I don't even know what to call it, but it's at a place that we know very well because it seems to be the epitome of flooding and disaster when it comes to rain and rubbish. And it's also where it's a central drain, isn't it? It's central drain where all of the rubbish and the water when it rains comes through. But we're going to hear a story about this drain from Mr. Asitanga, who's here with me. So what's the real story behind this storm drain?
And this is what the largest storm drain that we have within the Circle enclave that leads to the lagoon, and for that matter up to the end connected to the sea. Why this drain? This drain in the 90s, Accra, this place was like a receptacle. Anytime it rains, all the storm water from the uphills all runs and come to settle here. Therefore, government took it upon itself by inviting engineers to look at how this particular circle area can be reorientated to find a type of drain that can be able to collect off the heavy water that is always falling into circle. So therefore, the call for this drain. So this drain, you see, all the outlets, all the circle area, the drains are all underground and connected into it. You can have a look at it there. When you see it goes like that, the whole of the place has underground adjoining drains. When you take Kaneshie, the whole of Kaneshie or Doko have the same similar underground adjoining drains and all runs into this drain. And that is why immediately it starts raining. Within a twinkle of an hour or second, the whole place gets flooded. It got flooded because the whole of Accra, for that matter, taking Odoko, uphill, Kaneshie, everywhere, taking Tesano, Achimota, all everywhere is connected into this drain. And that is always the call for the flooding within the circle enclave here.
Right, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I mean, today the water levels don't look too high, and presumably because it hasn't rained in a while.
Not that. The drain has been dredged within the the whole of the year. The dredging has started from the Achimota tip of if you see the circle that pass there, the drain connects up to that level. And government have started the dredging from that place, straight up to the lagoon. And the silt that always pile up to let the water fall to brim has been removed out. And you can see the edges of the drain. When they dredge, this is where they put the silt. And as they are dredging, the tippers, the heavy tipper trucks, follow alongside and they load all the silt from the water away. And that is why you've seen that the water level here has gone down. As at now, under the water, the silt has gone low to the lowest level. So you can have, let's say that this is the ground level of the drain if you put a dip inside to test whether there is silt.
Okay, so how deep is it?
The depth of the drain is what I cannot get stand to. I have not taken the measurement. Okay. But it's as deep as more than 8 feet down to 9 feet, yes.
Okay. So about 8 feet to 9 feet down. And so obviously desilting seems to be the answer.
Yes, desilting. Regular desilting. And government have prioritized this particular drain. It's capital intensive. An individual assembly cannot do this. So this is taken at the seat of government. And to ensure that the experience we got from June 3rd and other subsequent floods do not occur again. Okay. And that's the essence of government taking responsibility for the regular desilting and management of this particular storm drain.
Okay, how much of a problem does the rubbish coming into the drain cause?
The rubbish into the drain is attitudinal, human attitude. Excuse me to say, we fail to understand that we generate waste. And once you generate the waste, you must be responsible for collecting and safe storage of that waste for safe disposal. So now, people feel like, why should I pay for waste? So they generate the waste, keep it in their rooms. When it starts to rain, me and you, we are all also at our home, various homes. Then they cut this waste under unseen circumstances, find a way of dumping it into the drain. And you can see always as you see the water very clearly, let it start raining now. You will see the volume of waste that will be on this water. And it's very difficult because measures you can put in place is either to arrest. How will you get them to arrest when it's raining? Because nobody will be in the rain to say, I'm looking for the people who are dumping refuse into the drain. Yeah. So it lies on all our own responsibility that our life all depends on the healthiness of this particular drain. So we should avoid and stop dumping refuse into this drain, because you may not know the flood that came has affected so many people. You say it doesn't affect you, but it affected the healthiness and the economy as a whole. The money that could have been used to construct health facilities and road maintenance and other things was what they used to take care of the over 100 and something people who, were unfortunately engulfed with the fire. And it's as a result of human attitude. If we try to practice good good and proper sanitation practices by enforcing our laws, as the district assemblies are doing, enough adequate education to households to stop disposing their waste into the drains. Other business entities, everybody should take sanitation as a responsibility to register for his or her waste that you generate, and let the accredited waste contractors follow up to pick the waste and to dispose it at the approved area. I think it will go a long way to help and protect our lives.
Right. Well, I don't think there's much more I can add to that, but this is basically the end effect of how we treat our rubbish, how we treat our environment, and we all know what happens when this storm drain gets filled and it gets flooded. Enimo Animado for JoyNews.
When I do it continuously, I get sexually unstable.
He starts by massaging and inserts his entire hand in my vagina. And sometimes I felt his hand in my womb.
I think I'm not the first victim, according to the rumor I heard. I believe that is something probably he does to innocent women or wives, people who come seeking medical attention.
And it's random. It's not like every woman I see.
Came inside and then he hugged me. Then things got more intense. He was touching me, kissing my back, fondling my butt, and trying to find his way inside my vagina.
I noticed that he was actually massaging my buttocks and inserting his fingers into my vagina. The next I knew, it was his penis.
It comes to me as a surprise. I am not aware of any, condition, and in this case, it's a lumbar spondylosis. I am not aware of any such condition that would require the patient to be sexually aroused before treatment can be administered. No, it is a surprise.
Things go on, so I'm really surprised.
You're saying it's not true?
If you tell me the truth, I should be in jail by now.
In 2018, Ifwa, a 30-year-old banker, not her real identity, was introduced to a specialist when she and her husband needed a child. The couple had suffered a traumatic loss and hoped this specialist would help restore their joy.
We have here Dr. Jonathan Ohinin Nkunim of the Nature's Hand Therapeutics Center at Bami. Doc, welcome to the show.
Initially, I was kind of reluctant since I didn't really know how he used to operate. I decided to give it a try. I was there at the clinic, and actually, he doesn't do the normal diagnosis that you'll be asked to do a lab and those things. He actually has a way. He checks, I don't know whether your pulse or something behind your palm, which looks strange, but that's how he's able to tell if you have a condition or not. He said he learned it in China.
There's the back of the hand, and it has like 360 points.
Okay.
There, so if I want to check there, so I want to check how you sleep, so I check the pulse and the nerve points. And
okay, so what are you checking now?
I'm checking your sleep ratio, actually.
My sleep ratio?
Yes.
Okay, and?
4 hours, 35 minutes, give or take 10 minutes.
Yesterday?
Yes, last night to this morning.
This guy's a prophet. No, I didn't sleep early. I stayed up late because I was working on a script. So.
And today your eating has been a bit off. You've taken a lot of water, which is good, but your eating is...
Yes, I've taken a lot of water today. Yes. And I've just eaten once, something very little.
Okay. Okay, but all in all, you have a very good pulse. Your heart is very, very good.
My heart is good.
Very, very circulation is good.
Is a liar.
I won't say 100%, but some were kind of accurate, so. And he mentioned that I had a problem with my cervix and that kind of thing. So I needed to do a procedure which would help me to conceive once therapy had been done. I asked what the therapy was about, and he said he had to insert like a probe into my reproductive vagina, let me put it that way. Sort of manipulate certain things there before I would be able to conceive.
Ifwa was not comfortable with the procedure, but it is said that a woman in labor does not hide her private parts from the birth attendant. She was in dire need of a child and had to give in to the requirements of the treatment despite her misgivings about the specialist and the discomfort involved in the procedure.
According to him, before the procedure has to be done, you need to, if you're with your partner has to get you aroused so that your cervix can open. It also sounded strange to me, but I was like, okay, I also want a baby, and if this is what the doctor is saying, of course I need to give it a try.
The facility was not conducive for Ifwa to be aroused by her husband, but as I later found out, that prescription was a bait, a trap which Jonathan Ohenin-Kunim employed in order to violate women who visited his facility. Once the woman could not be aroused, he would then take over that responsibility.
He inserted something like a probe, I don't know what it was, into me, and he kept doing his own thing there. So at a point, he would ask my partner that he probably should go and buy ice block or something. And I realized that it's more like, though he didn't penetrate, it was more like he was trying to have sex with me, trying to play with me. He was trying to play with me down there, getting me aroused, and I wasn't feeling comfortable.
Those are excerpts from Licensed Sex Predator, and it airs at 3 and 8:30 p.m. here on the JoyNews channel. Manasseh Azuri Awuni, who produced the documentary, joins me via Zoom. Manasseh, good morning.
Good morning, Enimwa.
Oh, it's so good to talk to you again. But this documentary, it leaves me with chills and shivers, and it's just really horrible, isn't it?
Very, especially when you know that there are a number of people who are going through this. Hello?
Yes, I'm here. I'm listening to you, Manasseh.
Okay. Yes. I'm saying it's very sad, especially when you realize that there are quite a number of women who have gone through this and aren't able to speak up because sometimes they are rather taken as the people to be blamed by society. So more women have reached out to me privately and also narrated their encounter with this practitioner and how they escaped narrowly. And he has told the police that those involved are more than those that are named in the report. And so you realize that it's worse than it actually is. And I'm getting to even know that some other health practitioners elsewhere are also doing same to women who visit them looking for care.
Wow. So you're saying that after this piece of work came out, there are actually more women that are coming out to speak about being treated like this?
Exactly so. Exactly so. And some have told me the reason they couldn't speak up has to do with how society behaves. And it is very terrible anymore.
It really is terrible. I mean, but I'm interested. How did this story come to your attention in the first place?
One of the victims drew my attention to it. And then I decided to...
Manasseh, we can't hear you. Is it possible you've muted and you can unmute for me? Okay, so the documentary will be airing at 3 p.m. and at 8:30 p.m. tonight. And that's Manasseh's new documentary. It's harrowing to see women who are vulnerable when they're in situations where they need healthcare and they're taken advantage of like this. But So something to look forward to, I guess, something to watch later on today. But let's move on. Yesterday, we couldn't bring you Join My Community as we promised, so let's do that now. It's a story of Glefe in the Ablekuma West Municipality of the Greater Accra region, where scores of residents have been rendered homeless after violent tidal waves destroyed their homes last week. Manuel Kranting visited the area, and he brings us this report.
To commit is a commature affair.
A nipa eguhano in billions aye to aba enti yenye nipa yenti ase say yen hwiri nkotena esoro ha nzo a omo mefa yen
ya da nso no yetimi na so chiri bu utimi ndra wuti wani ba ko nda bi oba Jesus kan so ebi ni wa de ko ha dan
mini improvement ya no dan one struggle dan Nekema Jan Tumone, Nka you back finance minister near sign, Aloe care sign. Well, take 10 years, then they can sign. Get away, or fit a man be a year, be a bache, a man now.
Glefe is a coastal community which lies about 100 meters north of the Atlantic Ocean. The community is home to about 15,000 people who live in cramped up spaces with buildings facing each other. The poor arrangement of settlement in the area easily qualifies it as a slum community. The main occupation here is fishing and its ancillary activities. But like most fishing communities in Ghana, residents at Glefe and the conditions under which they live mirror the growing inequality gap in the country. There are no government schools here, no government hospitals, or even government-controlled public toilets. Unemployment is quite high in this area too. While they grapple with these challenges, there's another one which is threatening their very lives and livelihoods. Tidal waves. Violent, destructive, and ferocious tidal waves. This problem has been here for decades. I have come to the shores of the Dansuman Beach. Every week, at least 5 houses here are washed into the sea by the tidal waves. This is as a result of rising sea levels occasioned by climate change. Not even the Sea Defense Project here has prevented buildings from being washed away by the sea. I meet 34-year-old Stephen Wasey, whose house is one of the recently affected structures. He lived in this partly demolished chamber and hall structure with his wife and 8-year-old daughter.
Ni bia whatever komempo ya ni wani mashpon ewo ayi bia for years ni buildings here gradani oba na sure ewo twin ni obia ka pond ni obia ka properties ni obia je ni so na yi esha bia na na afi see it has been here for long. These buildings have been here for long. My personal properties now I may live here me na te na she am going survive to make life comfortable. And you see, if it more, ensure according to the fuel, be an climate change or if it more a month or famoson if I or the money if I be a cock land there, or P and Ekumokumoy. Ekumate ensure manager my fair choncho. One I get near enough you're not going to almost every day. People may collapse can be Mokono 3, Mokono 7, depending on any arrangement no fee can in the clear 7 at a time. Mokono 1, Mokono 2. Different places. Today it may be here, tomorrow another place, and it keeps on going on.
Stephen takes me around to see the extent of damage caused by the tidal waves. He speaks of how he tried without success to create an artificial buffer for his building.
In 2 days, 3 days today, it's a it should be a porch, be a small room, and you are me, better man or a small room, and a man can around 3 a.m. a JBL. When I've been showing when the pressure on the kebab in one more. Can now what to that extent the beer no more because she sure the phone but sure be a sham to tune or can be no like the whole building will be shaking. JB a pen cash sure your many may well be a fan. My family feel. We just hang around with one neighbor saying I'm a shower no be a ball emergency.
But he is not alone. Kwesi, his neighbor, has been up since 3 a.m. planting beams to support the fast eroding foundation of his building.
Before we can't stay here, now you know be so way this place day. The sea day back, As you can see the way the waves is, it's very scary. But what will you do? I have a 2-year kid, very young, who is with me, and it's not safe for her. It's not safe, but what will I do? I wake up this morning, 3 a.m. Till now, I've not been able to go to bed. I have to be here working. It's not easy as being said. It's not easy as being said. Building, putting structures down, spending so much money, and all that suddenly, it's not easy as it's been said that we can just relocate, but it's not easy. Getting the room to rent is another issue altogether. So, and even if we move out, it doesn't solve the problem. Even if we move out, it doesn't solve the problem because the sea keeps on coming. So when we move out and then our building gets into the sea will still come. And it will get to another tenant or another building and then it will just be going. So the government has to make a permanent solution for this thing. So that all of us in Dansuma and its environment will be free because there was a building here. The one living in this structure, there was a building here, a very big, huge building, but then the sea has just demolished that building. So I don't know, he doesn't want to lose the land. As they were doing the project, he was thinking the project would just come so that he will secure his land and then start his project again. But yesterday they are not coming, so he doesn't want to leave the land, and then at the end of the day when they do the project and someone will just come and occupy that land.
The situation has incensed a lot of other residents whose buildings are only hanging by a thread.
In Bragbo, Benuate Yala Oba, in Chueku, Bianeko Haichu, Otami no Beno now Bieshe, Eko Bianea Hine, Numinde Gente Yaka, in Teyala Benin Ban, any be fair tonu.
Esha to come up a bastion on each one, non esha and che, Eshi fair yomo. Obaneva show one, welcome, Ned any machine wall, Kajalebi Yokoni.
Very serious. One Kasawahu from here to the beach road, Minim say a Hano and Ghana, Hondia, and they should come and talk something about who share a fee, Choco de Besiha. Akwayeti Sanzua, Omomefine.
When the tide became very strong, it really affected the houses just at my back. If you look around, you could see that most of the houses has broken down due to the strong waves that comes in. It's not safe at all. It's not safe at all. If you are here, getting to around 5 o'clock that way, you will see how strong the waves are. And it easily comes in, going into people's houses.
The kids here are literally petrified. They look on helplessly as the only places they have known to be home continue to be broken away, building after building.
If you to commit, it's a affair. No, me, I drum in the mask. Need to no election or need to a coon basin. And no, mammy can papa, I quite too many a basin. But Chaminim baby I made that. And I'm more than one I made that you may said I knew. And I'm never my minimum papa in a PA. Yeah, but she not dining in the elbow. But now one time my dead chain. I said I may go school.
If you say, it's only basa. Unim styles have na dine bubu. Dine a driver wa your na ena baku bubu aside no bubu ye. Ejina yet na ona ena san bubu ye na ye nyina si anka obi wo anka we etoni so ebetoni so anka se nipa ne wewu ana.
And that was Joy in your community in Gliffey. Really, really sad. Really devastating. Can you imagine going to bed and not knowing whether, you know, the roof over your head is going to crumble and fall on you? So that's what's happening. And we appeal to government and the relevant authorities to step in and do something about it. But we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, IB will be here with the showbiz.